If you think that memorization is the key to student success, then you're missing a fundamental truth about learning. Only by understanding can students truly progress. So why memorize instead of think? One of the reasons that I think that students memorize instead of think is because we're over-scaffolding. We scaffold to try to help. We try to do the gradual release of responsibility. But what happens is that students get dependent on that. And they stop thinking and they just follow to the next question. The next question leads them to the next step. Over-scaffolding, whether it's verbal or on paper, leads to students decreasing their thinking skills. Their problem solving ceases to matter. It's not beneficial to students to problem solve and critically think if the questions take the student through the process every single time. Unpopular opinion, I think we need to help less to help students learn more. And what if the solution is as stepping back and letting students struggle? The second reason that I think that students memorize instead of think is because we often convey the value of answers over thinking. We are looking for an answer. We give points to an answer. We correct answers. We aren't doing that with thinking. And as Peter Liljedahl says in his book, Building Thinking Classrooms, we evaluate what we value. One of the things that we should be doing is in any set of practice questions, there should be at least a few questions that deal with students explaining their thought process instead of just getting the answer or instead of getting the answer at all. Shocker. So we want to make sure that we show that we value it. I'm not too worried. When we're discussing something with students, I'm not too worried about the answer. I know that they can get the answer if I give them enough time, but really, it's not efficient and it doesn't show conceptual understanding. It shows the ability to memorize. Now let's explore how wait time can increase student engagement. Effective pause time, that wait time, 5-second rule, whatever you call it, that can be so effective. It gives students' brains the time to catch up with themselves so that they have time to think about it, not just process what your words were. So if I say, what do you know about this concept? They're processing my words and I'm expecting something immediately back. But if I say, take 5 seconds and think about fractions, tell me everything you know about fractions, and I count down, that can be so effective because it gives them time to breathe, relax, consider the concept that I'm talking about, and what do they know. On the other hand, it also slows down the speed of the class, and not in a bad way. It cultivates a culture of patience and of methodical, intentional movement, as opposed to on the hamster wheel, we're moving, we're running, we're getting nowhere, but we're running. We want to slow down, consider, think, and get somewhere. Next up is considering what happens when we introduce answer keys too soon. Well, think about what we talked about just a minute ago about answers being valued over thinking. If we provide the answer key too quickly or too much in their face, then what happens is that they know that we are valuing that answer. It's not important how I got there. It's more important that I got the correct answer. It's also important to know that students consider the answer key, meaning that it has no room for mistakes. I love when my students question these things. When they get an answer and they go, oh, well, that answer on the answer key is different than mine. Let's look and see. Okay. And then they come to me and ask. And I'm like, no, you're right. I had a mistake in the answer key. Well done. I love when they consider, is the answer reasonable? What did the teacher do versus what did I do? And don't necessarily automatically afford the answer key to always be right, which leads us to the idea of having questions that have multiple pathways and that allow for solving in different ways and different solutions because they're all working within that structure of the problem. It's so neat to see, but it does cause students quite a bit of frustration because they have been trained that every question has one answer. So it is important to use these sporadically but intentionally throughout your practice. The last reason why students memorize instead of think is probably one you thought of right at the beginning. It's that fear of being wrong. They would rather memorize it and know it's right than think and potentially get it wrong or make a mistake and learn from it. That part of productive struggle, working away from perfectionism and toward conceptually understanding the concept, is so key. It cannot be overstated. So now that you know why students memorize instead of think, you're probably thinking, well, I need some strategies that I can use right now in my classroom with students to stop that, to encourage the thinking with students. You're going to want to get my 3 thinking triggers free guide that's linked in the description. It goes through 3 strategies that are questioning techniques that trigger student thinking. So grab that below, and I'll see you in the next one.